Welcome everyone to episode number 53 of Endless Conversation Loop. My name is Brandon. It's March 12th, 2026. I'm joined here by my once again leading the show co-host, who's named...
Ahoy, this is Boom. I am very tired. I've had a very long few weeks.
Yeah, yep. It's been an interesting time around here. Personally, I am not looking forward at all to this weekend.
Is there a particular reason why?
We're supposed to get like 2 feet of snow by Monday morning.
Yeah, in March. Great.
March is a weird month. There's a reason that there's that old adage like, oh, March comes in like a lion, right? Well, personally, I don't feel right now that March is being a lion. To me, this is like, the Empire Strikes Back of winter.
It's the whole pack alliance at this point.
Yes. All at once.
I mean, I would still take this over hurricanes any day, if I'm being completely honest, as someone who has grown up with this for at least 3 decades. So.
Yeah, that's true. Counterpoint, though, we still get tornadoes, so...
Yes, but not to the same frequency, I feel like.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't have to deal with it in the same way that, like, people with hurricanes do as much. But either way, it's still just like, it's annoying, and it's scary. Mostly it's scary seeing, like, more than 1 foot of snow all at once, you know?
Mm-hmm. So... I am in charge of this podcast, but why don't we do some catching up first? Because it's, like I said, I had a very eventful 2 weeks. I don't know how it's been on your end.
Well, take the lead here. What have you been up to the last couple weeks?
So the biggest things that came out of this was I had my cousin's bachelor party, and I believe this was about a couple weeks ago now, which was still a fun time. It was definitely different because it's like, I feel like bachelor parties, like when they're portrayed in like, you know, movies and TV, it's a much more like, oh my god, like Vegas style of party. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, dude, we just hung out at the water park most of the weekend. It was fun.
You mean you weren't like, drinking an insane amount of alcohol and getting into the craziest situations possible?
I would not be a good Wisconsinite if I did not drink the entire weekend, basically.
Right, but I'm saying an obscene amount.
Yes.
Oh, an obscene amount?
We bought so many things of alcohol, and I think we only took back maybe 3 bottles and 1 6-pack that we didn't drink. There was about 20 different bottles or like 6-packs of stuff that weekend. Now, mind you, there was like 10 of us, so at least it wasn't like just 3 people getting sad drunk in a hotel alone, but...
But it just didn't result in the kinds of wacky shenanigans you're saying that would happen in the media.
Oh, there were shenanigans, just not to like the debauchery type, I would say.
Okay.
I think that's more the thing that I feel like a lot of like those types of bachelor parties kind of like correlate with a lot of the time when people describe it. It's like, no, we got drunk, we played video games and board games, and you know, we actually ended up going to a lot of different places in the area that we were in. Like, there was actually one restaurant that we went to that serves food on trains. It was actually kind of entertaining.
Those are great. I like places with a good little gimmick like that.
I have to show you a picture at some point, because like there's actually a photo I took, because like the same place with the trains that was serving food has like a big arcade connected to it. And the funniest part of the whole thing for me was the claw machine that had, hang on, I forget exactly what it said. Let me look.
If this is where I think it is, I'm pretty sure I've been there before, but it's been a long time.
Okay, so the vending machine just has like a thing in it that just says Italian brain rot, and it straight up has like these weird, like, I'm assuming AI pictures of like a shark wearing shoes. And the biggest one in the center of the photo is just a elephant that looks like a coconut. It is the most deranged thing I've ever seen in an arcade in my life. So no, it doesn't sound like it was what you were thinking.
Well, I'm saying I'm pretty sure that I've been to this restaurant, but I have not seen that there. Yeah, that sounds kind of wild.
It's insane to kind of see that. Like, we didn't get to spend a lot of time in the arcade, so we kind of just scoped it out just to see what was all there. The thing I am slightly upset with is there was a thing that we talked about, and like drunk us loved the idea, and sober us ended up not doing it, sadly. But like a bunch of us were talking about doing, there was a place also nearby our hotel that has like a Scooby Doo escape room that they have, and we really wanted to do it, but like nobody, like when we were all sober, it would always come up when we were drunk and never came up when we were sober. It was the stupidest thing because it's like we were all so excited to be like, yo, let's do this. And then all of a sudden it's just like it never came up until like later that night when the escape room's already closed. I'm like, oh, we should totally do that in the morning. We never did.
I feel like that would probably be a great, like, if you're in an escape room, what's the best way to make money?
Oh yeah,
have
absolutely.
drunk people nearby.
Drunk people nearby and an IP that everybody loves, I would say. And
They're never going to solve it, you know, if you're going in there drunk.
I straight up thought like the only reason I really wanted to do it was I wanted to walk into the room with everybody, the door closes, and all of a sudden I just go, all right, gang, let's split up and look for clues.
You know, everyone says Fred doesn't have a catchphrase. That is
that
his
is
catchphrase.
the catchphrase. Unless you are like very like used to the like live action movies, and like the stupidest one I think is like dorky chicks like you turned me on too, and I'm like weirdly misogynistic for the 2000s, but I guess that was par for the course back then.
I mean, 2002, I would say that was still kind of what it was like back then.
Even like Freddie Prinze Jr., I think I've seen in interviews who just kind of just like, yeah, some of that dialogue has not aged well. Like, I think it's more of cult classic status, I think, at this point for those movies specifically.
I would agree. I didn't watch them when I was growing up, but like the people around me that grew up watching it, either of the two live action Scooby-Doo movies, like they love those movies, and I'm just like, I don't think they're very good from what I've seen.
I don't think, realistically, I don't think they are good in the, like, oh, this is a great movie. Like, this is not Oscar award-winning territory, but it's one of those things, like, it kind of catches that Scooby-Doo, like, feeling to me, but it is in a more, like, young adult style of humor, I think. Especially with the era that it came out in, is kind of hard to really, like... It toes a line of, like, it definitely is a byproduct of their time, but it is also, like, a very good, just, like, interpretation of what I think a modern Scooby-Doo would be at the time. And not to mention, it is the reason we've had Matthew Lillard be Shaggy for God knows how many Scooby-Doo projects since.
That is the one gem that has come out of that movie, I will say.
Oh, yeah. And, like, Matthew Lillard, fucking icon in the nerd world, let's be honest. Like, not to completely derail what the initial topic was, but, like, he is just really good in just about anything he is when he is, like, committed to the project.
I wasn't sure about him at first when I started watching Mystery Incorporated. So low-key, I don't talk about this a lot, but like I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo as a little kid. As I got older, definitely a lot less. But I remember like when Mystery Incorporated came out and like, was that 2010, 2011-ish, somewhere around there?
Yeah, I think so. Because like that was, I think, after when I kind of fell out of it, so to speak. Because for me, my era was What's New Scooby-Doo, and the only thing that I genuinely remember from that era is the theme song by Simple Plan.
That would have been the show that was out like when I was a little kid, right? So I have a couple DVDs of that, and it's good. I would say I think of the modern Scooby interpretations, and keep in mind I haven't seen all of them by any means, but like post 2000, I feel like that's the one that's the closest to like the classic 70s show.
The What's New Scooby-Doo or the
yes, What's New Scooby-Doo I think is the closest to like the classic show.
Fully agree.
And so I like it for that. It's kind of like because like as much as I love old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, God, they're so hard to watch now that I'm like, I have more taste as an adult, right? Um, but like to me, that's kind of like What's New Scooby-Doo is kind of like the evolved version of that, where it's like, okay, this is the idea, but it's a little bit closer to the sensibilities of today. And then, I mean, Mystery Incorporated is kind of in its own league. Like, there's a lot of people who think it's the best Scooby series. I haven't seen it fully through, but
It's
I'm
weirdly
inclined,
serious
like,
at
if
points I've seen from like a Mystery Incorporated, which I'm kind of
Right.
impressed by.
Well, and that to me, kind of like trying to wrap this all up in a bow here. To me, Mystery Incorporated, and I really do want to sit down and watch it fully through. Which mark that on the calendar. Mark today on the calendar. Brandon wants to watch TV. Because to me, that's like what a serious, more mature Scooby Doo should be like. Whereas I feel like the 2000s movies are, maybe this is a little harsh. I feel like they're the Shadow the Hedgehog of Scooby-Doo, you know?
I don't think
Like the
that's an
game.
unfair comparison. I can't prove it, but I don't disagree.
It's like, it's got the trappings of Scooby-Doo, but it's like trying to add edgy stuff without really considering, you know, is this still Scooby-Doo at this point?
Mm-hmm. And
It's
that
adding edginess for edginess sake.
there's actually, and this isn't to necessarily promote or anything, but there's a really good video by I think it's Drew Gooden, if I remember right. I forget who it is, but they talk about like all the rehashings of Scooby-Doo, like including like the more like not quite Scooby-Doo centric, but it's like it is Scooby-Doo without, it's like Great Value Scooby-Doo from Walmart. That's basically how I would describe it. It's like talking about a bunch of those types of shows and movies and stuff, and how they just don't always hit the way that they're supposed to, or they're like trying way too hard on the copycat thing to be like, oh, you want to take this but make it darker, and it just doesn't work. It's like Scooby-Doo is like a testament in terms of old school cartoons. Like I'm talking like the OG series, because a lot of the time it was like you were still invested in the mystery, but it was not anything like graphic or anything like that. It was just like, if anything, it was like white collar crime with a mask most of the time from what I've seen of the OG series. Because like it's
Pretty much, yeah.
it's always like someone's just trying to scare them off the property so they can sell it. I'm just like, that's like 85% of the episodes, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they never get into like they tried to kill someone. They tried to do this like more mature thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, last time I checked, the show is targeted at
For kids.
children, right? Kids. So that's kind of where you get to like, well, what is the point of trying to target this at adults? You know? Like, it kind of betrays the point of the show. It's not to say, like, with clever writing, you can do something that engrosses the adults alongside the kids. But if you're going into this with the premise of, this is going to be the, you know, your, I don't know, this is going to be your cool Scooby-Doo, like, you're kind of missing the point right away.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so we got off on a humongous tangent on that, but I'm all here for it. Was there any other exciting stuff that was going on that you wanted to report here quick?
Besides that my dog has had her space surgery, that was kind of the bigger deal, but she's recovering fine though. So Toaster got spayed officially a few days ago as of the time of this recording, and she's hating life at the moment for the most part, but she's like getting better. Like even today she's already gotten leagues better since like a couple days ago, where she was like, you know, still on like the anesthesia and the medications from the surgery, so she wasn't like feeling any of it and all that. But like she's hating it because like she still has to wear this like surgical suit thing that we bought her, so like she doesn't like try to like lick out the stitches and stuff.
Yeah, invasive surgery is one of the few ways to get a dog to hate life, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. But she's at least on the up and up. She's like kind of getting her appetite back. She's at least like moving around still decently. I think it's more of just like she's just still kind of in pain from everything yet, but hopefully in the next day or two she'll probably be more like upbeat, I think, like more like her old self.
Properly on the mend.
Yeah, I mean, in a few weeks from the time of this recording, we've got her scheduled already to get the stitches out, so she should hopefully be back up in no time before we know it.
Nice. Well, hopefully, I think we're all in the audience here and myself sending well wishes her way.
Oh, of course. And then the only other thing was I finally sold my Pokemon card collection, which actually got me a lot more money than I was expecting for.
Like all your cards or just ones you intended to get rid of?
I would say the majority. I did keep a few of them more for like personal collection and all that stuff. I even kept one of the OG binders that I had. Because they are like, they still have like the old like red and blue like artwork on the cover, and like they are still sturdy. Like I bought these like 20 years ago and they still are amazingly in good condition.
Remember when things used to hold up for decades in the future?
Well, no kidding. And like considering that those cards for the most part were probably like at least 20 years old, just kind of sitting in my closet, like just getting any money for them honestly was a better, situation overall than just having them gather dust.
Yeah, if you're not using them, if you're not playing with them, what's the point in keeping them?
Yeah, and I think for me, at some point, I'm gonna eventually like get to a point where maybe I'll like, I'm not gonna like go and get a bunch of new cards, but maybe I'll try to go and hunt for some of the ones that it's like, hey, that's a really cool card for my collection that I want for my favorite Pokemon, for example. Like, I did keep a bunch of the OG stuff that I was actually really like, these are my cards. If I had to like, say what was mine, like I still have like an OG holographic like Scyther, holographic Pinsir, etc., etc. Like a lot of the bug types are like some of my favorite cards from back in the day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not the first kind of type that I usually hear people go for, but everyone has their thing.
I think it's because like when I played the Pokemon TCG Game Boy Color game, most of the time my deck would kind of go to like this grass fighting combo where I was very reliant on like Scyther, Pinsir, and Hitmonchan were kind of the big three for me.
So it's kind of an homage to that period then, huh?
Mm-hmm. And like I even still kept some of the other stuff too. Like I kept I have a holographic Koga's Beedrill that's still in my collection now that I really liked because it has like the OG Beedrill artwork from the games from like the Red and Blue era. Like stuff like that it's like I genuinely love those cards just because of the fact that they're like something so like me coded is the best way to describe it. But like even still, like there's certain cards like I still need at some point get like an Absol, which is my favorite Pokemon of all time, but I do not own a Absol card at all.
Well, yeah, you got to get on that one. Everyone's got to have the card of their favorite one, right?
Right, exactly. Because like Absol, I definitely want to get at some point. I have like one of the, I think it might be the first holographic Ursaring, because that is still in my collection too. Like I have like a decent amount of stuff that like is just I really enjoy this.
Nice. Well, that's a good place to keep it, and then you can, if to the extent you want to really have cards, then you can maybe prioritize the other games that you like better than Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure.
I suppose if I had to share something for me that's going on though, so it's funny because if I recall, we talked about this in episode 51. I got my bonus recently.
Hey.
So I was like, okay, I was really well behaved with like my tax return and stuff, and used a bunch of it on things that I actually need to spend money on. Paying down like loans and stuff. Boring adult things. So I was like, all right, but my bonus here, I'm still gonna do some of that, but I'm gonna do something fun for it.
You're gonna give a bunch of it to your buddy Boom.
Yes, no. What I actually did with it, a very small portion of it in the grand scheme of things. So I remember in episode 51 being like, I'm interested in Mario Tennis, but I can wait on it. I have Mario Tennis now.
Like the new one that just came out?
The new one. Yes, the new one.
Or is that one? Or is that one not out yet?
Fever's out. I have it.
Yeah, that's the newest
So I
one,
got it
right?
like last
The
week.
one for
Yes,
Switch
the
2.
brand new one. Yes, yes.
Okay.
My very brief thoughts on it. It's good, but I think I was very accurate in my estimation with it, where it's like, I definitely didn't need to get it at launch. This was just kind of like, okay, I have some extra money. I want to play it. I'll pick it up, and it's good.
It hits where it
I
needs
think
to hit.
yes, it hits where it needs to hit. I think from a production standpoint, I like it a lot. I think though from like a pure gameplay standpoint, I like Aces better. And it's because I really like the zone shots and like, using the right stick to do the trick shots and such. This is like Fever is definitely closer to a like traditional tennis game in the sense that, you can't necessarily save all those volleys, but like the Fever rackets are where it's like trying to get in that sort of Mario flair into it. And I think they're interesting, but I don't think they're necessarily the most revolutionary thing yet. I'll also say I have been trying to like mostly just play through little modes, and it has a whole list of achievements. Like, get this. There's a lot of stuff to unlock. What a novel idea, right?
I like that. Like, it's nice to hear that games might actually, in some cases at least, they're going back to being like, oh yeah, we'll let you unlock some of the stuff to earn. Like, instead of just, DLC or updates down the road, it's like, it's in game, but I have to earn it, kind of thing.
Yes, and the way Fever does it is kind of like a Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8 idea, where, like in Mario Kart Wii, to get stuff, oh my goodness, sometimes, like, there would be easy stuff to unlock. Oh, play 16 time trials. But then there'd be ridiculous ones. Unlock 4 fast staff ghosts in time trials. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's way, way, way more difficult just for one character or one cart. Fever is definitely going more for like, okay, every 5 matches you play, you get a character. But then there's other ones, win this tournament. Okay, that's like a pretty clear, like, doable goal. So like I feel like they're pretty well portioned out. And so like I'm consistently pretty well unlocking more rackets, unlocking more characters. I think you could make the case that it would be nice if there were, for some of them, maybe some more difficult, like unlock conditions for things.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing with it too is in the online, I really think this is one of those situations where, since I didn't pick it up at launch, I'm now a beginner being thrown into the pool with the people who've been playing this for like a month and a half, back to whenever it came out, maybe 2 months-ish here at this point.
Oh, I fully get that. As someone who has been slowly trying to kind of get back into fighting games, like not like competitive, but like, so something I don't know if I've talked about or not yet on the show is I started commentating actually at a local bi-weekly fighting game tournament that is in our area. But I only do it specifically for 2XKO because that's the League of Legends fighting game, and at least my background in League kind of transfers a little bit of that over. But like, I feel so over my head because like I try to go in and play, and I'm getting absolutely mopped by these people who like have been probably playing since even closed beta, if not earlier, and I'm just like, I am so out of my element.
Well, and for this is where I get a little bit of that. I kind of prefer Aces compared to this because, like, my first couple matches, I'm pretty sure both of them I played against someone using Rosalina, and in some ways it's my own fault in that I'm just not experienced yet, but like her like lobs and slices are just ridiculous. So it's like if she, lobs all the way to the left side of the court, you go and get that and hit it back, and then she can basically just instantaneously bring it to the other corner, and you there's not enough time to run over there and get it. Where it's like with aces, if I have any energy in the gauge, I can at least flick the stick in that direction, and I have a shot at getting it back. I might not hit the ball, but at least there's a slightly more realistic chance. With this, it's like it just felt kind of unfair. But I've only played the 2 matches, so like I don't want to have too much of a feeling on that yet. And I got more characters, more rackets, plenty more stuff to unlock too. So it might end up being that, okay, maybe this is more of a single player game for me. But I don't know. Right now, I'm definitely like, if I had to choose between, am I going to play Fever or am I going to play Aces? I'm probably going to play Fever, if only because it's the new one.
Yeah.
So it's got all kinds of new stuff to me. But in the long run, I suspect I'm probably going to like Aces more. But who knows? We'll see what happens.
I actually just bought a game quite literally. I think I bought it like almost 10 times over for a bunch of my friends online. And we got to try it last night. Is that Super Battle Golf? The best way I can describe that game is it's what Mario Golf Super Rush should have been. Because the whole game's thing is obviously like your battle golf. So imagine, if you will, everyone is golfing at the same time, but you are also not necessarily safe. The ball is probably safer than you are specifically. Because like there will be people like they have like, shotguns, dueling pistols. There's an orbital laser is one of the items, and it can target somebody. It just explodes like on someone after a delay, and it's like, oh god, oh god, oh god. But like the whole thing is done instead of like you trying to go for the lowest score per se. Like it does factor into points, but you're actually more like inclined to just get to the hole first and get in first, because then it sets a timer for everyone else to get in before the timer runs out, which I think is hilarious. And just, we had so much fun with it. It was like, I think we've had like 7 of us playing at one time, and I think it can even go higher than 8. I saw 8 as like,
wow,
the suggested amount, and then we were just kind of looking, it's like, oh, it can go higher.
That's crazy.
I know. I don't know what the max is yet, but I ended up buying it for a bunch of my online friends that I play it with, and we were kind of talking about it, and we're like, oh, we're doing this again, 100%. Like, if we get enough people, like at least like 5 of us going, like it would be a massive ride either way. I don't know if it for sure is, but I think it's also made by the same guys who do Peak, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on that. But it has very Peak energy, because it's like the customization feels a lot like your characters in Peak, where you can kind of customize in the airport. You go to like the golf shop and then you can customize from there. Like mine has like a bandit mask and a headset on it. So, and like there's other stuff where like you earn coins as you play. So like you can get like a different club or something like that as well too, like just from playing the game. So I'm like, this is fun. I definitely will be playing this. Like, and it's not like it's a hard game to pick up and put down. That's what I think the best part of it is. But yeah, definitely been some of the most fun I've had with friends in a while, just because it's like very like, you can take 20 minutes to play a game and then just go to town on it, and then just go and do something else if you want to, or you could spend like the next 3 hours playing more rounds on it. I think my only gripe with it, and I think it's only because it just came out not that long ago, is that there's not a lot of content per se. Like I think they have 3 9-hole courses, and that's it, which I think is the right amount for this type of game, instead of like, a full 18 course. Because like that would get to the point of like, because like the problem is like it's a point system versus like you actually having to be good at the game per se. But the problem is that like if you go higher than 9 and someone is just getting dumpstered on 30 the entire time, you feel like you're kind of dragging them along with you. And like some of you might be having fun and then the rest of you might not be. But like it's definitely one of those things where like there's not really a strategy per se. It's more of just, it's chaos incarnate. And I just love that specifically about it. But it's definitely one of my favorite games I've played so far this year.
Okay, well, sounds like you've got a high praise for it. Very like it sounds pretty well recommended. I like chaotic golf games like that. It's almost like it's its own subgenre of golf game at this point, where you have traditional ones, arcadey ones, and then straight up. This is technically golf, but mostly it's just a way to screw around.
Oh yeah, and like it's fun. Like I think a lot of the like online golf games that I've seen come out recently, like the mini golf ones, like golf with your friends and stuff like that. I think those are fun in their own right. It's just a matter of, I think it's like if you know what is like about to happen going into it, it's more easy to prepare for what you're expecting to. Because if you go into like a game that's about like Super Battle Golf and you're trying to play it as seriously as possible, you will not have a good time. If you're going into something like, say an actual round of Mario Golf and you're just bored out of your mind because there's not enough stuff going on in that moment, you see kind of where the precedent gets on that one. But that aside, but yeah, between that and the 2XKO commentary, that's been honestly a lot more fun too. I've only done it the 2 weeks so far that we've had events for. But it's been definitely an entertaining time because like I'm not really a competitor anymore like I used to be, like for like ranked games and stuff like that. And this is more, I think, my speed. Like one of our mutual friends from work who I know does commentary for like Overwatch stuff, I was telling him about it and he was kind of more surprised I got into it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I got in either.
Well, I mean, it works out, and that league connection is a good place to start. It's like we talked about last time with this game. There's going to be some level of crossover in the fans with that, and you just happen to be in that slice of the pie.
It works out a lot better than I feel like it should. I will say, like, it's fun for me to just kind of see how people are playing. I have to kind of catch up on, like, I know there's a recent patch for the game too, and like some of the bigger like main hitters for the game have been nerfed. So some of our local players are switching up their teams now to kind of accommodate. Like one of our guys that we have, he plays like a Braum Yasuo duo, but he also had Yasuo and Braum, I think both got nerfed. Well, I know Yasuo did. I don't know about Braum. But now I think he's switching to Braum Ari, so I really don't know how that's going to translate, but I know this coming Wednesday, as of the time recording, is our next event, so hopefully we're going to see some team switch-ups at the minimum, which I'm excited for, so we'll see.
All right, well, best of luck there.
Yeah. So anyway, so to translate from where we were going to where we are now, or not translate, transition?
Segue?
Segue.
Transition's a good word for it, too.
So I wanted to talk about a couple of things that recently happened more in the main AAA space, and they've definitely gotten some traction recently. But the first one I think that we got to talk about is the Sony dynamic pricing on the PlayStation Store. Now, I'm assuming you and I talked briefly about it, but you kind of know what the gist of this is.
Very briefly. Basically what I'm seeing is depending on the accounts that you're in, or maybe not in an account, you're having different prices suggested to you. Specifically, I noticed this with sale prices. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the case with like full-blown MSRPs, but I've seen that, like people posting like, yeah, this game on my account, if I'm logged in, shows I could get it for $12.99, and then if I log out, now it shows it at $9.99.
Yeah, so basically what has been kind of going around, I've seen some posts on Reddit about it where people are talking about, like, there's one in particular I saw where this guy was showing like his PlayStation Store and like how, I forget what game it was. I think it might have been Red Dead 2. But they were saying how, like, it was, like 10 or 15% off or whatever it was. And then they go to his wife's profile, and it's a sale price again for Red Dead, but it's even bigger of a discount than his. So a lot of people right now are kind of in arms about, like, well, what is Sony trying to do with this? So I just pulled up an article here from IGN, and it talks a little bit about how Sony is allegedly running a quote A/B testing system that shows different prices to different users as part of an experiment. The report suggests the test has been running since November of 2025 and is currently impacting over 150 games in 68 territories. So, this has been apparently going on for a while and only recently kind of came up from what it sounds like. It just feels very like a weird choice. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't feel like a good like money making thing for the business.
This whole dynamic pricing thing has been like we've seen this attempted in other industries. I remember a couple years ago famously seeing articles about people talking about this at like, oh, fast food places. This person's burger is $10. And then this other person here it's going through, there is a $7, and people getting all in arms about that. And when I see this, of course, my first thought is, does this work for video games? Like, I just can't imagine any scenario where anybody is going to accept this for video games. But then I start thinking big picture, like I think about that example I just brought up, and I really wonder, well, what are the industries that it does work? You could make the argument that dynamic pricing is already a thing with, like, when you need to buy gas, with certain foods at the grocery store, there's like a dynamic pricing in that it's based on some market rates, but and there's a few items at restaurants where you'll see, like, if you go to a fancy pants place and you buy, like, let's say you're the person who has to have lobster tail for dinner, like that'll be listed as market rate instead of some set price, because the values on things like that do change fairly frequently. I don't know that I would say video games is one of them. And especially when we're talking about such radically different sale amounts and how easy it is to see those radically different prices, because you can simply, let me just log into this other account. Let me log out of this account. And you can still download the software to the same hardware. This just seems destined for failure. Doesn't mean Sony won't try, but I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those where it's like, it's either going to end up, they're going to try it and it doesn't work, or they're going to try it and they're so insistent on trying it that people just kind of give up trying to fight against it. It's sort of like with the microtransactions. Okay, well, there's enough people buying these such that even though there's people who are mad about that, it doesn't really matter because they're making money off of it either way. So,
like,
I don't know.
The thing that I've heard in particular that seems to be like a argument, not necessarily for, but not against either, is saying how, like, in a business standpoint, it makes kind of some sense. Because what they're saying is like, okay, basically how this is all being treated is that people who don't spend as much on, say, the PlayStation Store, they're the ones that are typically getting offered the deeper discounts on something. So, in a sense, it makes sense because you're encouraging them to spend more money. And at the same time, while, yes, you're giving them a discount to the people who are spending it, there are some of those people who are saying, hey, we spend a lot, why don't we get that same discount, if not a better one then? Which is also a fair argument. I think the problem that is going to come out of this is kind of like what you said. If they're going to insist that this is working, you are not going to be able to please both halves of this. I get what you're trying to kind of go for, but I think realistically it is not a sustainable way to actually, make this work, because you're going to constantly have to be yo-yoing prices between how many different people per account and all that stuff. And like the article actually goes on to talk about how some of the people who thought to be part of the test include a lot of these PlayStation published titles like God of War, Spider-Man, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, with quote personalized discounts also popping up during sales, offering discounts as high as 12.5%. Some third-party games are offering discounts anywhere between 5.3 to 17.6%. So I think the biggest thing that's kind of coming out of this is like you need to really understand, like, I think that's what something like Steam does better, is because it's like it's a universal discount for everyone. And instead of it being like personalized to the person who is, you know, shopping for stuff on their library of games and whatnot, you have all these people who, like, the longer the game is sitting on their site, the deeper the discount can arguably be. And then another point that they actually bring up in the same article is last week there was a report that revealed a couple of the PlayStation 5 exclusive games will stay as exclusive titles, including Ghost of Yote and Saros. Because they are apparently pulling away from PC stuff now, instead of how in like recent years up until like the last couple weeks or so or whatever it's been, we've been seeing more and more like PlayStation exclusives are now kind of migrating onto PC. But now that we are doing this dynamic pricing, they also think that that is kind of playing into a part of it, where they're trying to make the PlayStation Store its own entity to kind of rival Steam in a way. And on a level of that front, I get it, because now with Steam's whole thing of their new, you know, Steam Cube, as a lot of people on the internet are calling it at this point, like, it is understandable because you are still heavy in this console wars, that you want to be able to compete with something like Steam, especially if they're bringing out a new console. You got the PS6 coming out, but you also have to make sure that, like, just because you're doing something different than your competitors doesn't mean it's better. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, and you brought up a couple things that I'd kind of want to build on, right? You talked about, you know, these are universal prices. Nobody's going to object to a universal price sale because, yeah, that's for everybody. That's like sort of the heart of the problem here is, you know, the difference between a personalized sale and, like, you know, let's say you go to your local Walmart or your Target or whatever, and you see that, oh, hey, they have, you know, insert whatever game here on clearance. That game isn't on clearance because you happen to walk in there and see that. That game is on clearance because
they're clearing out their like games that aren't selling as well at a reduced price.
Correct. It's not selling well in that market. It could be like somewhere else. They might have sold out all their copies at full price and it was fine. But at this particular store, for whatever reason, nobody wanted to buy that game. And you just happen to be somebody benefiting from that as someone who wanted that game purely through chance. This is you're being picked out to see this special price given only to you based on certain information that they're tracking. So, I mean, that's a whole nother angle of this too, is the like, what kind of privacy stuff is going here? What kind of data are you taking on me to decide that I should get, you know, Stellar Blade recommended to me at X, Y, or Z price, as opposed to this other price that someone else is getting it at? And I think it's totally reasonable that you'd have tons of people be like, I'm not okay with this because it's not fair that I'm getting this price or that someone else is getting a better one because of some arbitrary data that you happen to think they would want it more than I would, or vice versa. Okay, I'm getting a better price, but, you know, my cousin who wants to play the game, this hypothetical person, right? They would want it, but based on some other metrics, they're not getting the same price. Like, that just doesn't seem fair.
And I think something else to kind of like tack on what you were saying is like hypothetically, like let's say Red Dead is the example here, Red Dead 2. If I don't buy a lot of games on PlayStation Store, that's one thing. And I would understand to an extent that you may want to offer a deeper discount to try to entice these people. But I think from a consumer standpoint, and as someone who is not necessarily, like, I will play a lot of games, like, of different varieties and different genres and whatnot. That said, there are some games, though, that I just don't have, like, a connection to ever want to buy. Now, let's say someone who is getting a deeper discount on Red Dead 2, it turns out they don't like a narrative game, which is heavily what Red Dead 2 is at the end of the day. They may not even want to buy it. So now you're kind of wasting the discount in a way, because it's saying, I'm going to offer you a discount on one of our most popular games to this extent because I want you to buy it on our platform, but not realizing, hey, I'm not really a person who wants to play Red Dead 2. Do you have something better that I could get that discount for? Which they may or they may not. And I think that's something that, like, these companies don't seem to fully get, is that not every game is going to get 100% of your player base. None of them do, for that matter.
I think that's another great comparison here, because kind of what you're suggesting is what would be more wise is offer like a store-wide coupon, right? If you are like, you want me to buy something, and the way you're trying to rope me in is by making something 30% off, guess how much money you're going to get on this sale if it's a game that I don't care about?
$0.
$0, 0 cents. Now, if you give me 30% off and I can pick whatever game I want on it, guess what? Yeah, you're not getting the full value of that game, but you got 70% of it from me, and that was way more money than you were going to get by offering this game that I don't care about on sale here. The other thing I was going to say that it popped back into my head, I am also not inherently against certain people being offered certain discounts if that is otherwise done in a universal way. So to make that a little bit more clear, people have talked about for years, like with Switch Online, God, I wish I could just keep the retro software. I don't want to pay $50 a year to play N64 games. I wish I could get that at a discount. I think, I don't fully know of a perfect method yet for that specific situation, because I think there is something to be said for, like, let's say you buy that and then,
I actually may have I may have an argument for what was the best choice.
Well, put a pin in that briefly, because I was going to have another example here, because also with the expansion you get the Mario Kart 8 DLC and like the Animal Crossing DLC and like the Zelda Switch 2 upgrades. You get those all included in that. I think a universal, like, okay, we give this to you, but if you want to download that, since it's also available separately for sale, we'll also offer that to you at, like, I don't know, $5 off, $10 off, whatever it is, as like, sort of like, hey, you're part of the group. If you just want to have this for free and you want to keep subscribing, great. But, since you've been part of this, if you want to have it permanently, we'll also give it to you cheaper, because, then if you get it and then you're not getting a benefit of, like, okay, I bought it permanently, it's mine, then it's not like a benefit of that subscription. I think that would work. I don't think it's perfect, but, acknowledging that, like, obviously the whole purpose of this is to make some level of money, I feel like that's sort of your own, like, that's kind of a compromise. And that's really what I think we're asking for here, is, like, we really want to compromise. Like, if you want to try something new, there's a better way to do this than this dynamic pricing. To me, this comes across more as like some investor or someone on, the board was like, why aren't we incorporating dynamic pricing into our PlayStation stuff? And so now someone has to figure out how to do this, as opposed to, like, this is something that people, the consumers, really wanted for it. But now, give me your pitch here. What's your pitch?
Okay, so kind of piggybacking a little bit before I forget this part of the idea is like, you know how you were just saying, it's like, well, I like playing more of the retro stuff on like say Switch or Switch 2. How could I just have that? Honestly, they kind of had a decent enough system already with the Virtual Console for the Wii and the Wii U. I'd almost argue if you had a way to be able to kind of bring something similar back on the Nintendo front, at least for that, that would kind of fit in there. Because kind of going to what you said, it's like, yeah, this online plan here will give you the Mario Kart Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC for free, Animal Crossing DLC for free. It's like, okay, but what if I don't have those? What does that help me with? If I am strictly just playing like the retro games, for example, like the hard part in that is the a la carte methodology of the marketplaces. I think is the biggest thing when it comes to like Steam, Epic, PlayStation Store, even Game Pass to a lesser degree. But I think in general, the biggest question is like, how do you get as many people interested in the stuff that we have to offer if they're only going after certain things? And I have a very weird example, but at least hear me out. So Riot Games with League of Legends a while back, and this is like years and years ago, they have a thing that's just called the store. And or not the store. I forget what it is. It's specifically a store that comes in every like few months where basically it's a skin store. And what they'll do is they'll kind of like look at your previous matches that you have been playing in League and what characters are you playing a lot of. And then they take that information and say, hey, you don't have this skin. Here's this skin for this character that you've been playing recently that maybe we think you'll like. And it gives it at a random discount. It's not necessarily the same discount. And on top of it, there's even some legacy skins that will potentially be in there. So skins that have been so-called like lost to time or like they just aren't in the store anymore, that sort of thing. But they'll offer them to these people who have been playing, say, you know, Caitlyn a lot or, you know, Ahri a lot or whoever. And they'll at least have one skin for like 6, 7, or 8 champions, give or take. I forget how many are usually in the store at one time. But it's one skin that you currently don't own that it will be at a reduced cost to you that they think that you might like. Now, does it always hit? No. But a similar system might benefit in some of these like stores where it's saying, hey, we're going to offer you this game here at this price. I'm not necessarily saying you should do it like the discounts that way, but at least like if you're going to be tracking their playing information or their paying information or something like that, I would really look at that model as, hey, you don't own this game, but it is in the similar, you know, bucket of games you've been playing. So like if I'm playing a lot of JRPGs, but I don't have this one, they'll offer me this one at a discount or something like that. I think that's a more realistic approach to what they're trying to do. I don't think it is necessarily the answer, but it is closer to what I think they're looking for than what they're trying to do here. And what makes it kind of even harder is when something like Steam has already more or less kind of, I won't say perfected the state of their sales, like when it comes to their platform, but it's really hard to argue against how good Steam sales are treated by comparison to the other ones in the industry. Because, like, not every game is going to always be on sale for, like, even their main sales for, like, you know, their summer sale, winter sale, yada yada. But they will still also have these sales that are, like, specifically for this publisher, for specifically this developer. And like their sales 9 times out of 10 are like not necessarily random, but they at least put them into some sort of like categorical way where it's like, oh, this is a really popular game. We can't sell this at necessarily 90% off, but maybe we can do 50 or something like that because it's a popular enough game. And like people are still, you know, trying to get the most bang for their buck on this one. Now, there are definitely games that I don't understand why Black Ops 2 is still $60 on Steam, but that is a conversation for a different day. But the point being is that, like, when they have more, like, tailored sales, I think, when it comes to more, like, what they're going to offer, it's giving them an a la carte choice to be like, hey, these are games that, like, you might actually be in, like, more, like, they should be interested in potentially. And, like, they even give, like, the explorer's queue of, like, they have, like, hey, these games aren't in your inventory, maybe you might like these, and then you can scroll through, like, 12 games, and then if you like what you see, either buy them or wishlist them for when they are on sale. Steam just kind of has, like, a really good method. It's not perfect, but I think it is, like, the better of the options that we currently have. And what I'm worried about with the dynamic pricing that Sony is trying to push is that it's tailoring really questionable spending habits for people who may not even want to buy a lot of games. Some people maybe just be content with the same 10 games that they play on their PlayStation, and they're fine with that. And that's okay. Like, if, say, like, I only really bought this system to play Stardew Valley, for instance, that's fine. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. But trying to force people into, like, buying a product that they don't necessarily need because you're offering a discount for them that is quote unquote tailored to them, or you're just kind of looking at, like, you don't spend a lot. If we lower this even further, will you spend more on this? I think it's setting a bad precedent for what they're trying to do with spending habits. And I think it's punishing people who are loyal customers in a way, because you're going to be putting them in this position of, like, well, if I have to get a deeper discount by spending less, well, now you're not getting their money at all. So they're just going to wait until you either offer them a deeper discount, or they may not even bother to buy it off of the store or something like that. They may still buy it physical, but when you go to, like, these stores, like, big box stores like Target or Walmart or, all of them, and if they're offering a game that's, like, on clearance for $20 that is still $60 on your store, well, why would I not buy the physical game for $20 instead of, buying it digitally for 60? Like, it sets a weird precedent, and I don't think it is the right decision on Sony's part. And I'm not saying I don't get it. I'm saying that, like, in practice, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I just think with sale prices, it has to be universal, right? I think your idea, sort of like almost like a personalized group sale to you, if that makes sense. Kind of like you were saying, like, okay, you like a lot of JRPGs. We'll give you your choice of any of these JRPGs for 25% off. Okay, that's fine. But, whoever down the street that my best friend who also likes JRPGs, right? If I'm getting the sale and they don't necessarily need to be getting the sale thing at the same time, but it's like, if my offer is 25% off of any game that's tagged with that genre, when they do get that thing, theirs should not be 30%.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the same for everybody, because it's either this game is on sale and it's on sale in a sale for everybody, and everybody is getting the opportunity to get, whatever it 30% off. The special thing to you should only really be the timing. It shouldn't be the price. That's kind of how I'm looking at this here.
Same. I fully agree with that idea. So second story, that because video games and money just go hand in hand at this point.
Yes, they do.
Nintendo of America is, Nintendo loves to sue. We can't really argue that.
Yep, it's man, you'd think they're the people who make Ace Attorney, not Capcom, because they love their legal stuff.
Look, and I say this out of full desperation. Nintendo, don't come at me. It is just the facts of you have a lot of lawsuits. I can say that. It is nothing against you specifically. It's just I'm noticing a pattern. You can't
no
be
lies
mad about
detected.
That. There is no press X to doubt situation here.
No.
But Nintendo of America has recently come out with a lawsuit against, of all people, the U.S. government over tariffs imposed by the U.S. Boy, howdy, is that a sentence I didn't think I would say, but I don't know what to think of this whole thing as of right now. But so they filed a lawsuit over the, quote, initiation and administration of unlawful trade measures last year. In a complaint, lawyers from Nintendo are asking the U.S. Court of International Trade to refund the tariffs paid, quote, with interest, unquote, since they were imposed. That is a tall ask.
Very much so, yes.
Because, like, I heard this best described is that this situation is very a la, it's an unstoppable force going against an immovable object. And I don't know which is which in this scenario, but it is accurate either way.
This is a very out of character comment for me, but I'm going to say it anyway. The meme potential of this is so high, and I've seen it already with people doing, like the thing with the, you think you can stop me? No, I can't stop you, but he can. And then it'll be like, some Mario face over whatever. Like there's a comic that looks like that. That's not even commenting on the merits. Like who knows how this is going to end up in the end here. I don't. The thing with this situation, in my opinion, everybody stinks.
Yes.
There's no entity in this that looks good because the problem, and we talked about this last year, right? What happens? These tariffs get imposed.
And now it seems we're seeing the repercussions of said actions, finally.
Right. These tariffs get imposed, and it's not like these companies are just going to eat them. And that's not unique to Nintendo. That's not unique to Sony. That's not unique to Microsoft. That's not unique to any business on the planet. Because the incentive in capitalism, not to put on my red hat or whatever, put on you sound like some communist here. It's just the reality of how the system works is every quarter you need to make a profit and you need to make a bigger profit. Suddenly now that there's this government thing coming down arbitrarily to make that harder, that doesn't mean the company's suddenly going to just okay, well, we'll just accept a lower profit and it is what it is. We'll keep selling these things at this price and it is what it is. The shareholders are just going to have to accept that instead of us making a 10% profit, we made a 7% profit this quarter. That's not how this is going to work. They're going to raise the prices so that the profit margin still stays the way it was. And what happened? Okay, what happened? We talked about accessory prices went up, amiibo prices went up. Side tangent. What on earth is going on with the Kirby Air Rider ones? Because we had $50 for Kirby and Bandana Waddle Dee. Then Meta Knight was going to be $50, and then it was dropped to $45. And now we've got King Dedede's, and that one's $55. Can we pick a price here? Ideally a lower price, but that's my thing. So my thing here with this lawsuit, Nintendo's getting the money. The consumers who paid more for, we can probably safely assume the Switch 2 is going to be $450 no matter what. You could probably bet Mario Kart World was going to be $80 no matter what. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that. But if there's any inclination, any evidence that would prove otherwise, the only, let's say Nintendo wins this, the only acceptable outcome to me, if they were to win this, would be, okay, we've won this. Now, we're going to, do the thing that we also talked about last year with game prices, where it's games and consoles get cheaper over time. We're going to lower the price of these because we've been made whole from 2025. And because the Supreme Court struck down the IEEPA tariffs, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we're good. Basically, the idea that I'm saying here is like the only scenario in which Nintendo wins this and they get money that is acceptable is if the benefit actually trickles down to customers. Because again, like they paid the tariffs initially, but the offset, like the increased prices to offset that, means in practice the people who pay it are the consumers. So it's like there's something's got to happen here where the consumers are made whole. And I just that's why this whole thing stinks, is because I have a very sneaking suspicion that the consumers aren't going to be made whole. And again, that like with this, that's also not totally unique to Nintendo here, because I'm looking at this, I'm assuming you're looking at the gamesindustry.biz article that I sent you. FedEx and Costco are suing. I don't know anything about like their particular lawsuits, but I have no reason to assume that either of those companies or like any of the other, because it says over 1,000 companies suing the US government. I don't know how many of those, if any, are going to trickle down to the people that, paid increased prices as a result. And, it's annoying. We'll have to see how this plays out. I could honestly see it going either way, if only because of, the Supreme Court decision fairly strongly. Well, I don't know. Some people said it was like very narrow. Others said it was like, pretty wide, that it's like, okay, you just can't do this. Either way, the point is the majority ruled the tariffs aren't okay. That gives all these companies a better case, but I'm also not a lawyer, so my opinion
this is not legal
as good
advice
as something
by any
on
stretch.
Right. My opinion is as good as something written on a napkin here. So
and I think
we'll just have to see what happens.
I think something about this in particular that I'm kind of curious about is like I've heard kind of people talking a little bit about like the Costco one specifically, and I think Costco has come out basically saying if they do win their lawsuit, their users like for their company like are going to get some sort of reimbursement as far as I am aware, but they are the only ones I have heard so far that have even said something of that caliber. So I kind of agree with your point of how you were talking about like, I don't know how a lot of this money comes back to the consumer in the Nintendo case. Realistically, I don't think it does. The best case scenario is certain things get cheaper. I think that is the only way.
Yes. That's what I said. The only acceptable outcome if you're a consumer is they get the money. They say, okay, we've been made whole. This thing that we increased to, I don't remember what we talked about last year, but like, let's say this thing that was $10 more, we're going to bring it back to that price. And even that might be more than you want to pay, but it's still like, that's like the consolation for it, so to speak.
And something that I do think is interesting is like, something that like some of the people on the Nintendo side of things have said. So the firm has previously said that the price of like the things for Nintendo could change depending on market conditions. And there's a few quotes here. Our basic policy is that for any country or region, if tariffs are imposed, we recognize them as a part of the cost and incorporate them into the price. However, 2025 marks our first new dedicated video game launch in 8 years. So given our unique situation, our priority is to maintain the momentum of our platforms, which is extremely important for our dedicated video game platform. That's coming from Nintendo's president, Shintaro Furukawa.
So the way I read that, right, what he's saying, the basic policy for any country would be we are going to incorporate tariffs as part of the price. Mm-hmm. In 2025, we launched Switch 2, and we want that to sell well. So what he's basically saying there is, okay, we kept it at $450. Under this other policy, normally we would have charged more.
Right.
So because the incentive is like we need more of these to sell, and it's like we're still going to make enough money, we kept it at $450. So what that reads to me is, on paper, if they win this, the console stays at $450, which, as we already know, there's a lot of people who think that's too much. Last week, the reason we didn't record last week, well, there's two reasons, but one of them was I had no internet, and so I had the guy from the internet company come over, and he's looking at my stuff. He loves it. He's got a sleeve of Mario tattoos, and he's like, man, I can't. He can't justify spending $450 on the console. So like there you go. There's a real world example. I mean, you're a real world example too, right? Yep. You haven't wanted to spend $450 on it, which is totally understandable. I talked about in our like April recording last year that it's like $450 is like I think the cap that they could have gotten away with, but I guess that would be the one ideal scenario here is like, okay, we win this. This stays at $450, and ideally, maybe we go back to the trend where prices start to, okay, time has gone on, this hardware is cheaper to make now than it was at launch, so we see the market at work where things go down in price. Who knows if that's going to happen? It hasn't even been on the market for 1 year, so...
Yeah, it's not going to be a 1 year mark until June, so we have a few months
there's still 3 months to go.
There is one more quote from Furukawa. He does add to the same thing that I mentioned earlier. Consequently, if the assumption on tariffs change, we will consider what kind of price adjustments would be appropriate, taking into account various factors such as the market conditions. To me now, that sounds like, okay, if we get what we get from that lawsuit, then we may make some price adjustments, which I think, as we talked about, is best case scenario. Like, and I feel like a lot of it is going to come down to more on the accessories, like Amiibo and all the extra add-on stuff and whatnot. We might see it in some games. I don't know for sure, but like, I think as a whole, just being able to at least say that up front is like, okay, we are considering this, because like they have to kind of plan for all accounts. It's like, what happens if they don't win? What if they do win? Like, what do we do in response to this now that's best for not only our company, but for our customers? Because the other thing that I've kind of always looked at with this whole tariff situation is just, it's insane from the start. But on top of it, we also did have the U.S. president did impose a new 10% tariff to replace the old ones that were outlawed by a different, like, supposed law that, like, so it got rid of the majority of them and then only had new ones get re-added, which now are still into question on whether those are also unconstitutional. So we're in a very weird spot right now, because it's basically just, for the most part, one administration is just kind of shouting out numbers about what other people are going to be forced to pay. And a lot of U.S. citizens, ourselves included, are being kind of forced to roll with the punches on this, because we don't know what's going to happen with it. And it sucks, because, like, I'm not saying, like, every game's got to be, $60 or anything like that. Like, I get that certain games have to be 60. I understand that we may have to go up to 70 in the long term at some point, because realistically, we were kind of spoiled for the longest time with $60 games. But that being said, I think the Nintendo case and the Costco case in particular are the two to watch on this whole front, mostly because I think those are the two that will get settled the fastest, if not at least a verdict first. And whatever that decision is for that case, whichever is going to happen first, is going to be the precedent for the other thousands of lawsuits that are also saying, hey, we want our money, like, that you basically gypped us out of from these tariffs.
That's how our legal system works. You get precedent. That is how they're supposed to rule in the future. So yeah.
So my hope is that out of all the cases, I would argue, I hope Costco first gets settled, mostly because they're the most upfront about saying, we're going to make sure our consumers and our customers get that money back somehow. And they have been very vocal on that. Nintendo...
Yeah, the tough thing with that, I see what you're saying, but that's like a choice of their own volition.
Yeah.
There's no, like... That isn't saying that, like, the ruling will state, okay, company, we will give you this, but as a result of giving this, you need to give it back to the consumers. So I agree. I think symbolically it would be the best one to have be one first, but since there's no real legal tie to it that then brings any other business under that stipulation, it's not much more than a symbol.
Yeah. And right now, I think the best that we can do is we sit and wait it out and hope for the best. Case scenario is there's something good for the consumer side. Like, we'll keep a pulse on it just in case to kind of see what happens in the future once we kind of learn more. But right now, that's kind of all we're at with that whole front. But maybe we need something more upbeat to talk about after that unnecessarily dreary talk.
Yeah, prices are fun. What's the good news?
So, as you know, we are a couple of Switch aficionados, as it were. A recent Pokemon game came out. Pokemon Pokopia.
Pokopia, yep.
Sorry. Wow, I'm off.
I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm just assuming
I think yours is actually right.
I mean, half of the people in the world who like Pokemon don't know how to say it properly, so, like, there's really no one agreed upon pronunciation for that, let alone probably this side game.
So, I keep saying Pokopia like it's,
Pokopia.
something like that, or I keep thinking of that bird from Foster's Home of Imaginary Friends. But Pokemon Pokopia has surpassed 2.2 million units in the first 4 days of sales, which is wild to think, because, like, this is a Pokemon spin-off game, I feel like, that by comparison to, like, what it would be expecting of, I wouldn't think it's that level of, like, oh yeah, we're definitely getting into it. But the fact that it's been over 2 million in, like, less than a week of release is insane to me.
It's very interesting because, remember, there's also a plus side and a negative side to this too, because this is also the very first party keycard game. So if that's something that you care about, that might be concerning to you. But then again, you know, you look at, like, what's the best selling Switch 2 game by far? Shocker. 14 million copies of Mario Kart World.
Well, to be fair, it was also first, so
that's true.
It's kind of hard to really argue that one, mostly because it's like, yes, it's a launch title, so I feel like that kind of pads the numbers a little bit because it's like one of the only games that's available. I mean, like, we look at, like,
and bundled with the system.
Yes, like, we look at Breath of the Wild 2 because that was a big deal when Switch 1 came out. And I know I bought it when they got it and it came out. But, like, how many copies of Breath of the Wild probably sold from the Switch 1, like, when it was released, compared to now when it has released? And I think that number is only going to go up from here. So it's one of these, like, I think it's more impressive as a testament to the Pokemon franchise that I'm kind of looking at, like, even a spin-off game can still hit those numbers. And now, mind you, this also is probably factoring in digital sales. Like, I know we talked about the key cards and all that stuff. I would still be okay more on the digital release side of things than the key cards thing, but again, what do I know? I've made my opinions very specific with the key card debacle that we did last year, and I, as someone who still does not own a Switch 2, cannot, you know, really comment firsthand on these.
To your point on that, the Pokemon Company confirmed 1 million of that 2.2 is just in Japan.
Yes.
And so every week there's, like, chart data that comes out about game sales. So Famitsu tracks physical copy sales. Pokopia sold 541,000 units physically, roughly. So that means half of that is digital, half of that, I mean, really 100% of it is digital, but half of it is physical. That's technically also digital because of how the key cards work. So, you know, I don't think we have US or European sales data on this yet. Oh, actually, we do have UK. The UK one, the physical release, quote unquote underperformed at launch. So, point is, it's selling a lot of copies. I mean, geez, I had a friend last week who got the system specifically to play Pokopia. So, yeah, like I don't think it's entirely surprising, but also not unsurprising that like basically this is a system seller for some people, if only because it's Pokemon and people like Animal Crossing and Minecraft type games. So it's like, yeah, of course this is gonna do well.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think that, like, I'm more happy that the success of this type of game, which honestly, I'm kind of shocked it took till this year to have, like, a Animal Crossing style Pokemon game. Like, I think the only thing that's weird about it for me is you play a Ditto as, like, your character, but that aside, I am honestly shocked by the fact that it took them this long to be like, yo, what if we took Animal Crossing and Pokemon and kind of smushed it together? Like, and it works. From what I've seen, it definitely works. And it's like, by no means is it like game of the year material, I would say, but like it is still, I would argue, like family game of the year. Easily.
Probably. I think it depends too on, what other. Obviously, the year is young. There's plenty more games that are going to come out during the year. But
yes, but also
I think there's a good shot.
Expedition 33 definitely came out in March and still stormed the Game Awards last year.
Yeah. A perfect sort of case in point on this too. Like I said, I've got this friend who got the system. It was about a week ago. He's already got 16 hours into Pokopia. So like,
yeah,
it's going to be a big deal game in the end.
I definitely would say is like going to be one of these things where time will tell with like how long the longevity of this type of game is. Like, I'm more worried that it is going to kind of get into an Animal Crossing like style where it like kind of just, tappers off at a point that it's like not as many people care. Because like these are, I think, games that kind of want you to play daily, which is really hard. And it's like certain games like a Stardew Valley like still are having like people playing over and over again with like, multiple farms that they might do and all that stuff. And now even like with like the weird surge of like simulator games like Supermarket Simulator, TGC, or TCG Shop Simulator, like anything like that, it feels so weird when not what's the word? Like a mundane task is like taking care of stuff that you would normally just do in your regular life and complain about argumentatively. You'll do it in a video game, no problem. But I think it's that like, reward for like when you do something and you get something in the game versus like when you do it in real life, it's like, well, now I'm going to just go get myself a little treat. Like, say get a Shamrock Shake after you just go to the post office or something like that.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm more happy that the fact is that, like, it is successful. Because, like, I was not 100% sure how that game was going to go. I would assume because it's Pokemon, it would at least do decent. And then those numbers definitely scream, like, yeah, it's doing good.
I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a sequel in a few years here. Like, it's a big deal. It's the first. Well, it's not the first. It's the second Pokemon game on Switch 2 following Legends ZA's Switch 2 edition. But obviously that one's a weird situation in that it's not an exclusive. So who knows? To me, the big question, regardless, is going to be hopefully this will somehow give good juju to the next generation of Pokemon because, man, you Pokemon fans have had like a really good but also terrible go at it at the same time.
What's your take on the starters for the new Pokemon?
Now, keep in mind, because based on what I just said, I'm not a Pokemon person. Pom Bomb is best, if only because, I mean, it's just Missile from Ghost Trick, but with fire.
I never thought of that until just now.
Oh my goodness, I saw all kinds of posts about that right away.
I haven't seen those yet. I gotta look those up later. Oh man, I had never put two and two together on that one. I'm like, oh my god, Pom Bomb is just Missile. Let's go.
Palm Bomb is best one, period,
Absolutely.
if only because it's clearly the best dog in video
There is
games.
not a thought behind those eyes, though. You can't tell me there's not.
Uh,
Like, you look at
it's adorable.
Pombon, that is a happy but clueless dog, and I am so okay with that.
The other ones are fine. They're okay.
Yeah. I think also part of it is going to definitely come down to, like, what are we going to see in the later evolutions for that game when they do eventually get revealed. I will say, of the three, my go-to would be Pombon, what is it? Browly, I think is the grass one. And then I forget what the water one is, but that'll probably be my last one to try out. But like honestly, I don't think they're bad designs. These might be the best design like starters that I've seen where like all three kind of hit for me. Cuz like I haven't really had that since like Sword and Shield cuz I loved all the ones in Sword and Shield.
So they are Pombon, Brout is the
Brow.
grass type.
Yeah,
and
Brawly is a
Gekwa.
Dragon Ball Z character. Whoops.
Gekwa is the water type.
Okay. Honestly, like, I don't know what it is about them having, like, ever since Sword and Shield, I feel like the water types have been getting weirdly sassier in a way. Like, they're very full diva. It's weird. Because, like, Sobble's final evolution absolutely started that, it feels like. And then, like, the last generation kind of had that with, I forget who the water starter is in Scarlet and Violet. Help me out here. I don't remember.
You're asking the wrong guy here. It looks like it was some kind of duck-looking thing, but I don't see its name.
Quaxley, that's right. And then the final form is like this water fighting type that is like a dancer, and I'm like, that's full diva status. And I'm kind of half expecting that to happen again with this new water starter, honestly. Like, the eyes are already kind of looking at it. I'm just like, oh, you're going to be a sass diva, and I'm absolutely here for it.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, when I look at them, like if I had to do my ranking of the previous three, again, as somebody who doesn't play this, I would probably go Scorbunny, Sprigatito, and then Pombon. Sorry, Water. I would give Quaxley a good second place.
Oh, that's...
I like that it's...
Scorbunny,
I like that...
Scorbunny is Gen 8, not Gen 9. Gen 9 is Fuecoco.
No, I know. I'm saying I had Sprigatito as my number one in 9.
No, I know, but you said Scorbunny, I think, also in there. And I'm like...
Yeah, no, I said in the 3 last generations, I would go Scorbunny, Sprigatito, then Pombon is my favorite from the previous 3 in a row.
Okay, I see what you're getting at. Sorry. Yeah, honestly, I feel like all the fire starters have been absolutely fantastic. The grass, like, beginning starters or, like, the early starters are good for me, but the later ones don't always hit. Because, like, I think it's... Who is it? Because Grookey in Gen 8, I love. Ribbabloom is okay. And then Sprigatito, I like a lot. I don't necessarily like the final form all that much. I like the typing. I just don't like the specific, like, look of it. But, like, I get what they're trying to go for with, like, because all of their starter trios very similarly have a theme of some type. And I think Gen 9 was more focused on, like, a circus-centric one almost. Because you have, basically the magician, you had the singer, and then you had the dancer. Or not circus, but like more performers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the concept of like them having some sort of central theme together. I am curious what that means Gen 10 is going to be, but I will say I am still disappointed that we are still not at that point of getting the Australia region yet. And I absolutely thought this was going to be it, judging from the names of, what was it, Winds and Waves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been, like, the best time to have, like, an Australia-style region. And I think a lot of people, like, have just kind of beat it into the ground. Do not get me wrong. But, like, I do think that they are right on that, is we need to have, like, the professor looks like a Steve Irwin clone. And I'm absolutely for that.
When I look at it, though, like, when I think about the premise of Winds and Waves, I'm like, isn't this just Hawaii again? like with Sun and Moon. Like, this feels very similar.
I don't remember what this one's supposed to be based off of, because I don't think it's supposed to be like Hawaii. I think it's supposed to be more like, it kind of has like an Orange Islands feeling from the anime in a way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't think it's been revealed yet, but I'm just like, when I think winds and I think waves, I think of
Islands.
Tropical islands, you know?
No, and I fully agree with that. I think there might be some loose speculation that it may be like similar into like the Mediterranean isle sides of things, like, because there are a lot of islands in the Mediterranean Sea, surprisingly, with like Greece and Italy in particular. But I don't think it's going to be that per se. I think it's more like going to be tailored like what you said. It's going to be more like that, I would almost argue, Southeast Asia style of island nations and stuff like that, or like, you know, the ones kind of above Australia, like that more section, like Indonesia style of island, I think, almost.
Sure.
That's where I think the inspiration's kind of coming from, but I am not confident in that until we get more info, let alone like when the game actually comes out.
Yeah, there's a ways to go for that.
Yeah, and honestly, that may be the thing that gets me to for sure buy a Switch 2 if something doesn't sooner than that, if I'm being honest. Because, like, I am a Pokemon junkie from start to finish, which reminds me, I do need to also get my copy of either Fire Red or Leaf Green on my Switch, because I'm definitely going to do that at some point.
It's cheaper than getting a cartridge of it.
Well, yeah, it's only $20, and that is coming from someone who owns a Leaf Green cartridge.
Sounds like a perfect reason to go Fire Red this time, then.
Well, I started Fire Red when I was a kid. When I was younger, I had Fire Red initially when it came out, and then I got Leaf Green because I didn't have Sandshrew in my game, so I was like, I want Sandshrew. But yeah, I think honestly, like, I definitely don't hate what I'm seeing so far of Winds and Waves. Am I at the point of like, oh my god, I'm so stoked for this? No, not yet. But like, it's more of the like, all right, I like where this is going. Give me more. Like, I don't know what to expect yet, though.
It's good to know that, like, it feels like there's a little bit of promise with this, whereas with, you know, Sword and Shield and with Scarlet and Violet, right away it seemed like everybody was like, nah, this is going to be terrible for one reason or another, whether it was the graphics or, you know, not keeping the national decks or any of that stuff. So it's nice to see there's at least a little bit more of a tinge of some positivity on this, but who knows? The something could come along in the next couple months that sours people on this, so there's plenty of time for it to go or
it will be
poorly.
Graphical performance. That's going to be the thing they complain about as soon as it's revealed on in-game engine. That's it.
Yep.
But anyway, we've been talking for a while.
Shall we sign off then?
Yes. Take it away, Brandon.
All right, time for me to do my sales pitch. If you enjoyed this fine episode here, please be sure to do any of that engagement type stuff here. We'd love for you to do that. That could be commenting. That could be sending a voice message on speakpipe.com/endless conversation loop. The mailbox is still empty, and I'm sad for that.
Fix that, all of y'all. Any of y'all.
You could also like the show on whichever platform you're listening to this on. Be sure to subscribe for any future episodes given to you right away as soon as they come out. And we will talk to you in the very next episode.
Okay, it's nap time.
Bye.
Bye.